5 in the morning. Your alarm goes off. You set it yourself. Nobody makes you get up anymore, and you have not needed to for over a year. You get up anyway. You brew coffee in the dark and drive out past the edge of Tulsa before sunrise, climbing into a delivery truck that is not yours and never will be. Your phone sits in the cup holder carrying a number that quietly changed everything last spring. 43 years old, standing in a loading dock, completely free to walk away. You do not walk away. The dispatcher does not know. Your sister does not know. Nobody on the route knows. 21 years of 6-a-meter starts and double shifts and everything you refused to spend, all of it so you could someday stop needing this truck. Tomorrow, you will be back in it anyway. So what did all that saving actually buy you? It began with $300 you almost did not send. 21 years earlier, you are 22 working a warehouse floor in Amarillo. It is 101 degrees outside and hotter near the loading bay. Your mother sits on a folding chair nearby. She is 58 and has worked this same floor for 29 years. Her knees do not bend the way they used to. She adjusts around it and never complains. She is eating crackers from a plastic bag she always carries. You ask her without really thinking about it when she plans to retire. She does not look up. You figure it out eventually, she says. That is the whole answer. You flex your knees without meaning to. They still bend fine. That evening, you stand in a discount grocery store doing math before you reach the counter. You already know your balance without checking. $6,200. $14 an hour. $810 every 2 weeks after taxes. Rent, car payment, phone bill, gone before it lands. The total on the register reads higher than what is in your account. You put a jar of coffee back on the shelf. Nobody notices. You drive home and sit in the driveway with the engine off, not ready to go inside yet. 40 more years of loading docks. 40 more years of summer heat. 40 more years until somebody young asks you the same question you just asked your mother, and you answer it the exact same way. You get used to it. That Saturday, you wake up early anyway and search a single question online. How do ordinary people stop working before they die? The answer is not thrilling. Buy small pieces of real businesses. Keep buying them. Wait, you open a brokerage account at your kitchen table. Your thumb hovers over one number, $300, more than half of what you own. Your mind lists reasons not to. What if the car breaks down? What if you need it next week? Every reason sounds sensible. That is exactly the trap. You press confirm. 600 becomes 300. No notification, no fanfare, just a smaller number where a slightly bigger one used to sit. Monday, you are back on the warehouse floor. You did not do this to become wealthy. You did it because for the first time you could picture where the exhausting part might end. $25 every payday disappearing before it reaches your hands. You check the balance on lunch breaks, before bed, sometimes at red lights. At 25, 3 years in, the account reads $2,100, $1,800 of it straight from your paycheck. 3 years of skipping the coffee shop. 3 years telling yourself next month for that $300. Your thumb sits on the cancel button. You put the phone away instead. Not because you believe in the plan yet, but because canceling would mean admitting you were foolish to try. So you leave it running out of stubbornness. That is the entire reason. 26, a random Wednesday. A new line appears in the app. Dividend deposited. $11. You stare at it longer than it deserves. It will not cover a week of gas, but you were asleep when it arrived. You did not lift a single box to earn it. That is the first time in your life money has reached you without costing your body something. You tell nobody. What would you even say? I made $11 in my sleep. 27, a loading dock in October. You make yourself a private promise. At 15,000, you will tell your mother, not to show off, just so she knows there is a way out eventually. It reaches 15,000 the following spring. You are standing in her kitchen while she fixes the garbage disposal herself because she refuses to call anyone. You almost say it. Instead, you hand her a wrench. She does not ask for it. She just expects it. Age 30, the market drops hard for 2 weeks straight. You lose $9,000 in 14 days, more than a year of rent. You stand in a break room with your thumb over the sell button. You do not tap it, not out of courage, but because 7 years cannot end in nothing. On Friday, your automatic deposit runs anyway. It does not read headlines or ask how you slept. It simply buys more shares at a lower price. 32, Your mother finally retires. Coworkers bring a cake into the break room. She shakes a dozen hands and drives home. The whole event lasts 20 minutes. You follow her out to the parking lot with a number in your mouth. $58,000. She sets the cake carefully on the passenger seat so it will not slide and reminds you dinner is Sunday at 6. You watch her car pull away and it still feels like luck rather than a plan. 100,000, you decide. You will tell her at 100,000. By 36, the account reads 280,000. Sunday, her kitchen. Her hands still do not bend easily, but she manages the teapot anyway, telling a story about a coworker from decades ago and laughing before she even reaches the punchline. She always does that. You say nothing. It feels too large to explain over tea. 39, a spreadsheet open on your laptop at midnight. 2 columns. What the job pays you this year. What the money pays you this year. The gap keeps shrinking. Your mother is 65 now. You have not run out of Sundays yet, but you can finally see the number where they might not matter as much. 43, an ordinary Thursday. Lunch eaten alone in the truck. Midnight, your kitchen table, checking what you owe on car insurance. The spreadsheet opens where it always opens. What the job paid you this year, 41,000. What the money paid you this year, 46,700. You read it once. You check the formula. You type the numbers again by hand like someone who does not trust a screen. Same result. Nothing happens. No alert tells you this mattered. 21 years earlier, you pressed confirm and felt nothing. You just did the same thing again. You open the refrigerator and stand in the light without being hungry, just needing somewhere to put your body. You say it out loud to an empty kitchen. Mom. That is all that comes out. 21 years, every payday, everything you chose not to spend. All of it so you would never have to set that alarm out of necessity again. And for the first time in your adult life, you would not have to. You had finally said it, even if only to an empty room, and there was still a whole route waiting for you in the morning, one you now choose instead of one you need. Saturday, you rehearsed the sentence out loud driving down Route 44. Mom, there is something I need to tell you. 20 minutes of practicing and you still do not have it right. You pull into her driveway and the garage door is already up. She is at the workbench with a space heater in front of her. It belongs to the widower 2 doors down whose heat went out Thursday. She is 65, fixing it for free on a Saturday morning. Dinner that night is pot roast. She is telling you about a neighbor's grandson getting married. You are waiting for a pause. Then she mentions Wednesday mornings, and when you ask why, she answers like you asked her what color the sky is. Coffee with the girls from the floor. She has been retired 7 years and still drives down there, still parks in the same spot by the fence. Nobody needs her there. She goes because it is Wednesday. You look at her across the table. 29 years on that floor, knees that stopped bending easily before she turned 50, and when the job finally let her go, she found a reason to walk back through the door anyway. The sentence you rehearsed was, Mom, there is a way out. She is laughing at her own story before she reaches the ending, the way she always does. A way out of what? You do not say it. The sentence does not fit anymore. She catches you in the hallway with a container of pot roast wrapped in foil, holding it against your chest until you take it. You look tired, she says. You tell her the route has been long. Not exactly a lie. Not exactly the truth. You drive home with the foil container on the passenger seat, the same spot where the cake once sat. 21 years. Every payday. Everything you refused to spend. All of it to get her off that floor. She never wanted off. You get home at 9, put the pot roast away, and set your alarm for 5. Sunday, 5 in the morning, the alarm goes off. You turn it off and lie there a while. You called out of work the night before, first time in 21 years. Dispatch asked if you were all right. You said you were fine. There was a pause before they let it go. Your body does not understand what a day off means. $280,000 and an entire empty day. There is a diner on Pearl you have driven past for 2 decades and never walked into. You go in today, sit alone in a booth, eggs and toast and coffee for $7, finished in 10 minutes. It is 7:30 in the morning and the whole day is still ahead. You sit in the parking lot trying to think of something you actually want. You made a list once at 22 and it had exactly 1 line on it. Get off the floor. You never wrote anything below it. Wednesday, She is at the old break room right now with coffee and the girls from the floor, 20 minutes from where you are sitting. You could go, but you would have to explain why you are not on your route, and you do not have that sentence yet. You drive past the exit. Noon, your kitchen. You open the refrigerator and eat the pot roast standing up straight out of the foil. $280,000, and your mother made this with her own hands, and it is barely 1 in the afternoon. Monday, you are back on your route by 6. A younger driver asks if you are out sick. 21 years to buy 1 day off. You tell him, and I gave it back by noon. November, your mother calls at 7 in the morning. Her furnace will not light, and the house has dropped to 42 degrees. You know that furnace, already old when you were in high school. You are there in 15 minutes. She is already in the basement, 65, kneeling on concrete with a flashlight clenched between her teeth. It is the igniter, she says. A pause. Might also be the blower motor. I can get a part tomorrow, you tell her. It will hold, she says without looking up. A brand new furnace this week would cost less than you spend on groceries in 3 months now. Let me get you a new one, Mom, you say. She sits back on her heels and takes the flashlight out of her teeth. You have your own bills, she says. That is the entire response before she turns back to the furnace. She still thinks of you as the kid who put a jar of coffee back on a shelf. You never gave her a reason to think otherwise. You watch her fingers slip off a screw twice before she holds it out toward you without a word. That is the first time in your life she has ever done that. You take it, your hands close around it without trouble. Where do you think you learned that? She asks. 4 hours later, the furnace lights. She stands listening to it run, arms crossed. There it is, she says, smiling. Not because it is new, but because she fixed it. You leave a little after 2 with the smell of her kitchen still on your jacket, wondering for the first time if what she spent her life building was never the paycheck at all. It was the person who came home carrying it. Wednesday, you finally take the exit toward the old warehouse. Her car is in the lot, same spot by the fence. You have not set foot in that break room in over a decade. Same vending machine, same burnt coffee smell. 4 women around a folding table with nowhere else they need to be that morning. Your mother sees you first and her whole face changes. Look who decided to show up, she says to the table, introducing you even though they already know exactly who you are. You sit for half an hour. They talk about a supervisor from 1998, somebody's hip replacement, a recipe for banana bread. Nobody asks you a single question about your own life, and it is somehow the best half hour you have had all year. You are refilling your coffee when one of the women walks over. Diane, 70 or so, hands like your mother's. She tells you your mother used to train every new hire on that floor herself and train them well. Best trainer this place ever had, Diane says, then walks back to the table. Your mother has never said that about herself to you. Not once in your life. In the parking lot, she already has her keys out. Mom, you say. Yes, she says. 21 years looking for this sentence and it still comes out wrong. I have money saved up, you tell her. $280,000. The lot stays quiet except for a truck passing on Pearl. From what? She asks. Stocks, funds. I started at 22. Are you okay? She asks. That is her very first question. Not how much. Not how did you do it. Just are you okay? I am fine, you tell her. What are you going to do with it? She asks. You do not have an answer ready. 21 years and the only question that ever truly mattered turns out to be the one you never asked yourself. I honestly do not know, you say. She nods like that is a perfectly reasonable answer, and maybe it is. You stand there a moment longer, still half expecting the 4 words you have imagined her saying for 2 decades. She opens her car door instead, rolls the window down partway. Sunday, pot roast, same as always, she says, and drives off. You are left standing in a parking lot holding an invitation to dinner. She never once said she was proud of you. She did not need to. She had already said it to Diane and the rest of that table for years without you ever hearing it. Sunday, pot roast again. You ask her about the old supervisor from 98, and she tells the whole story for 15 minutes, laughing before she reaches the ending the same way she always does. You already know how it finishes. You laugh anyway. Monday, 5 in the morning. The alarm goes off. You turn it off quietly, though there is nobody else in the house to wake. There is a roll of foil in the drawer you do not remember buying. You make a sandwich and wrap it the way she always wraps them. You drive out toward the edge of Tulsa before sunrise and climb into the truck. At noon, a new hire beside you on the loading dock, 23 years old, asks when you plan on retiring. You figure it out eventually. You tell him. He looks down at his own hands, thinking he just heard a warning. Maybe someday he will understand it was never that at all. $280,000 bought exactly one thing. The truck was always going to be there either way. What it bought was the difference between needing to climb into it and choosing to. Your mother understood that long before you ever did. It took you 21 years to catch up to what she already knew. You finish your sandwich, fold the foil, slide it into your pocket. There is another stop waiting down the road.